Okay, let's talk about your sample package. Now, remember that your sample is your first introduction to the buyer. So you want to make sure you're sending your best flavor or your top selling product, but you don't want to send everything. You don't want to send a case of your product. You don't want to send one of every flavor. You really just want to send the best and just enough for the buyer to try and maybe a few other people. So for instance, when we started with ice ships, we used to send 3 full-size ice ship tins, so 3 of these bad boys. These are not cheap to send and they're not light. That was a very expensive sample package. I believe the cost on that was around $8 or $9 per sample. So we got smart. It didn't take us very long to realize that that's a very expensive way to send samples. So we created these little sample packs. Now instead of sending those tins, we actually just send 2 of these. And in each of these packs, there's about 4 or 5 chips, just enough for the buyer to sample and maybe a couple of employees. Another case in point is Portland Oil Company. They have this chia seed oil, which by the way, this is very expensive. The wholesale cost on this is about 19 bucks. So you're looking at a SRP of close to $27, $28. So they didn't want, well, they were going to send full-size samples, but under our recommendation, they thought better of it, and now they send these. Just a tiny sample size. This actually looks just like the real thing, but it's obviously tiny. So cost on sending it through the mail is less, cost of the product is less, and yet it still conveys the same quality that this bigger product here does. Now, if you have a product like Lord Nut Levington does, who's got these big peanut cans, I don't think he has sample sizes to send. So he might send 1 full-size peanut can, which is okay because this is enough to share. It also gives the buyer an idea of the packaging size, which is great. They're going to want to know that. So whether you send them a full-size sample or let them know what a full-size sample is in your paperwork, either way they need to know. And then Zellies is another example. They've got quite a few different things, but they also have tiny little tins that they can send. Now we recommended to them that they just send one of their best-selling flavors, and no more. You don't really need to send more than that. So if you could just imagine for a second what a buyer's table must look like. Okay, this is just an example of what a typical buyer's desk looks like at any given moment during any part of the day. As you can see, they've got a ton of samples. There's a ton of paperwork, lots of business cards here and there. And this is just one of many tables that the buyer might have. So as you can see, a buyer's table gets very crowded with samples, with paperwork, etc. A typical buyer sees anywhere from 30 to 35 samples a week. Then you times that by the number of paperwork included, number of business cards. That's a messy desk. So in this world, in our world, less is definitely more. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a typical sample package that might go out. This one is specifically for ice chips. We have these boxes here that we bought. They come like this. These are really cool. They're only 20 cents a piece. They're through GBE Packaging, and you'll get the information on them at the end of this lesson. But basically, you fold it up, and it makes this nice little box like this. Now, this can actually fit a lot. So what we send is we send an Ice Chips flyer like this one. We send a little blurb because they were on the Shark Tank. So there's the 2 grandmas. Then we send just this little inexpensive card about our company so that they know. And then of course we throw in a business card. So there's our business card. And then of course 2 samples. So they're the ice ship samples. So basically you put them in the package here like such, fold up the Ice Chips flyer so they see it right on the top, and then just fold down the box, and then you just tape it up. Now, we use a box for the ice chips because they're a delicate product and they can get damaged during shipping. If you have something that isn't so delicate, you could use a padded envelope. That works pretty well. The cost of sending this through stamps.com is about $1.89. So that's a long ways away from the $8 where we used to send them at, and it makes it relatively inexpensive. So we send out about, I don't know, 25 to 30 different ice chip samples a week. So our costs are around 60 bucks with these little boxes. These boxes again are 20 cents a piece. We got 150 of them for $30. So this is a great way to go too, because you can put a sticker on the outside of the box with your company logo. Looks really nice and professional. And it kind of makes it like a care package, so that when it arrives, you can describe it readily to the buyer. It's a nice white care package. It has our logo on it, so they can distinguish your sample from everybody else's. Now let's talk about order minimums. Order minimums are the minimum a buyer must order of your product. So this can be set via cases or via dollar amount. For instance, 150 could be a minimum order, or 2 cases could be a minimum order. There's also a first order minimum as opposed to reorder minimums. So as it sounds, a first order minimum is what they have to order on their very first buy. Now typically a manufacturer will give 2 different opening order minimums. One that's just their opening order minimum, let's say it's $150. And then the second one is their opening minimum order for some kind of discount. Most popular one by far is free shipping. So let's say your opening order discount for free shipping is $250. So if you've done your math right, your cost should be covered with that free shipping. Plus it should be a big enough order that the retailer is actually making a pretty decent investment in you and in your product. The problem with setting a lower minimum, like let's say $50 or $75, is that the buyers really aren't making a commitment to your product. Now, in the beginning, of course, it's tempting just to get your product in the store any way possible, and I understand that. But in our experience, usually buyers that don't order the minimum don't reorder. So I'll leave that decision up to you. You might want to look at what store it is, what kind of pull you think they might have, before you make the decision on whether or not you forego a minimum for a buyer. But typically, an order minimum of 150 to 250 is about the right range for a new product going into the marketplace. Buyers feel comfortable at about that rate. So figuring out your minimums can be a bit of a challenge, but if you work on them a little bit and see where your margins are, you should. A side note to minimums, a lot of buyers will be asking for free shipping. Now, if your costs, here's a Living Well food broker tip. A lot of buyers are going to ask for free shipping. My suggestion is give them free shipping with a minimum order, a higher minimum order than your typical order. So like the $250, for instance. Some manufacturers do an ongoing special. If you order $250 or more, you get free shipping. That's a great idea. Again, it allows the buyer to make an investment in your product. It gets you a bigger sale. And yes, you eat it a little bit on the shipping costs, but you'll make up for it in volume. My suggestion is never, under any circumstances, well, there are always some circumstances, but don't do free shipping just to get an order into a store. And as you're starting out locally, do not deliver the product for free. I've seen many manufacturers make that mistake, and you can imagine what happens is over time, as the manufacturer's time becomes more stretched, they can't personally deliver the product anymore. Now they have to send it through UPS or through the mail, and now they need to charge for shipping. Well, whoa, says the buyer, but I've been getting free shipping this whole time. Wow, all of a sudden the change. Then you have to argue with the buyer. There's a lot of pushback. It's not a good scene. So my suggestion is always charge for shipping. Even if it's a nominal amount in the beginning, always charge for shipping, because that way they know that there's a charge for shipping and that they value that. That's one of the other reasons why I don't like doing free fills. When you give something away for free, then people don't value it as much as if they pay for it. If you pay for something, you're going to definitely treat it better. You're going to definitely give it more attention. If you get it for free, well, you got it for free. So this is just my personal opinion. This is how we do business in Living Well Food Broker. We don't give things away for free. We don't do shipping for free. So one important thing to note on the sales sheet that you send, make sure everything is spelled out clearly. How your product is ordered, what kind of payments you take. I talked about this in another lesson, but I just wanted to re-emphasize the importance of making things easy for the buyer. You saw the desk earlier of how cluttered they are, how many samples they're dealing with, how many different companies they're dealing with. If you complicate the process, you might as well kiss that sale goodbye. You want to make it super simple. So that's just another Living Well Food Broker tip from our experience. One last thing on samples. Do not charge for samples. That is a mistake that will cost you a sale for sure. Buyers get samples for free all day, every day, and they're not going to buy samples from you. So, and it also leaves a bad taste in their mouth. There are some manufacturers that send out samples unbeknownst to the buyer and then have the nerve to send them a bill for those samples. Obviously that's bad business, but I had to say it just in case you were thinking of charging for your samples. My recommendation is don't. Okay, this wraps up this lesson on going after local stores in your area, how to put together your sample package, and what needs to go into your sample package. So look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Bye.